here's how I finally released years of guilt and shame. How many of you are in a place right now where you feel tremendous guilt and shame about something in your life? Maybe something that you don't want to share with anybody. What I can share with you is 4 years ago, I had the worst day of my entire career, but it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me because I had to look myself square in the face and say, I need help. I want to release this guilt. I want to release this shame. And you know what I had guilt and shame about? My gray zone drinking habit. In fact, when I talk to people today very openly, because I have released the guilt and the shame, you wouldn't believe how the walls just kind of come dropping down and people want to share with me their own story. And they've been terrified to tell people because they walk around in this place of guilt and of shame. I know exactly what they were talking about. So the thing that helped me move from that place is that horrible day. It was a 17-hour day working in the operating room with brain surgeons. I was running very sophisticated imaging and computer systems for those surgeons. And in order to keep up with the demanding pace of that career, because I had no life at that point, and I also could not turn my mind off or down at the end of the day, I turned to anywhere between 1 to 3 glasses a night of wine, not to get drunk, but to turn my mind down. And because I was caught in this loop, I had no self-care skills. I had no kind of skills to manage the anxiety or the panic that I was feeling in this very high stakes world. I was just caught in this loop and it produced tremendous amounts of guilt and shame. Now, I want to be clear when I talk about a gray zone drinking problem, I didn't drink to the point where that I had developed a problem so bad that I needed to go to a 12-step program or to rehab, but I knew it was a big enough problem that if I didn't do something about it, I probably would end up in those kinds of places. And I didn't want that because then it would wreck my career. I didn't want to wait until my career was wrecked before I did something about it. But the guilt and the shame that I had kept me from doing something about it or asking for help. But that awful day in the operating room woke me up because that day was so long, there was no time to have anything to drink. And so what I understood was I just made it through the worst day of my entire career with nothing to drink. What if I can do it again and again and again? And the thing that I learned from that was the minute that you stare at something head on and you ask the very real question about what do I get from this thing right now? What's the benefit I think I'm getting from this? And is it even true? Once I had the courage to tell myself that this is a problem, you don't have to have judgment or blame or shame about it anymore, but you do get to have the courage to start asking for help. And as I started looking around for some help, at first, to be quite transparent with you, it was hard to find help because if you have a very serious problem with alcohol, there's loads of help for you. I mean, thanks be to God for that. But if you're someone like me who was just in this kind of gray zone area, it's tricky. When I started 4 years ago, there was very little. The great news is there's more and more help from people like me who are offering solutions to be your emergency brake, to be your safety net, so you never get to the place of being really in deep trouble with some kind of alcohol problem. But let me tell you what worked for me is I have this incredible background and knowledge of neuroscience, and I tapped into my network of neuroscientist friends to figure out what in the world is going on in the brain. When we consume this thing that people have told us for decades, it's heart healthy, what's going on in the brain? And as you consume that chronically over time, like I was every night, same amount of wine, what happens in the brain? And so as I started to discover more and more about what was going on, and I uncovered new data that came out about specifically looking at brain health when you chronically consume something like alcohol, which by the way is a neurotoxin, the results were stunning because any kind of perceived benefit that we thought from alcohol from a cardiovascular standpoint for your heart health, it was so minuscule, but it was so incredibly risky and dangerous for your brain health that we were trading one thing for another. And it turns out that's not a great idea at all. So let me recap for you. The two things that helped me get rid of the shame and the blame and the judgment were, number one, being very, very real about you need to look for some help and start where you are with what you have. And you also give yourself some grace around, hey, I'm in this place. I need some help. I'm going to get the help. And number two, really start doing doing homework, what's the current data around, let's say you have your own gray zone drinking habit. When I started to understand that the current data was completely the opposite of what I thought it always had been, and that of course you're stuck in this loop because your brain is undergoing some things and some patterns with the breakdown of the alcohol in the brain, it's changing things and you get caught in this loop. And so now I had medical data to support that a lot of it was not my fault. I had so much bad information. But now that I had the new information, it just helped me get rid of all the shame and the blame and the judgment. And it helped me get very, very clear that I don't ever want this stuff in my diet ever again. So I didn't just walk away from alcohol. I kicked it out of my diet. And when I talk to people about that, when I talk to prospective clients who might have their own gray zone drinking habit, they ask me, don't you ever miss it? And the honest answer is never, because I understand now that any kind of perceived benefit that we were sold, because that's the truth, we were sold there was some kind of benefit and there isn't at all. I know the truth of it. And I haven't had anything to drink in more than 4 years. And I can honestly tell you, number one, I'm 6 months away from being in the best shape my entire life. My brain at 59 years old has never worked as fantastic as it does now. I walked away from corporate America. I started my own business. I'm running a ministry. I've never been able to achieve more at this stage of my life than I ever have, to be quite honest with you. And honestly, it's because I had the courage to let go of the shame, to let go of the guilt, leave the garbage behind, get it out of my diet, and let my body heal and come into its own natural state of creativity, finding solutions, finding joy. And honestly, I can tell you that I am absolutely in love with my life right now. I want that for you too. So I'm going to invite you today, if there's something in your life that's causing you a tremendous amount of guilt and shame, the first thing you could do is you can sit in prayer and you can ask God for help. That's exactly what He's here for. The other thing you can do is you can reach out to me. Let's book a 30-minute clarity call. Let's find out what's going on with you. What's really important to you right now? What's the gray area that you're in your life? It doesn't have to be a drinking habit. I have a lot of folks who come to me with all kinds of gray zone habits that are keeping them absolutely stuck and keeping them from making the change that they know they need to and they want to make to live the life that God has created them to live. So go ahead and reach out to me. Let's have a conversation about it. You can click the link in the description. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is it's okay to release the guilt. It's okay to release the shame. And I believe in you.